Hey, this is John. Welcome back to Modern Old School Developer. In the last episode, we worked on renaming our movie files so that our movie properties were reflected within the file name. But we didn't do anything with the categories, and that is on purpose. I don't want the categories reflected in the file name. Instead, what we're going to do with the categories is make a special directory for each category, and then we'll make a link to the movie file within that category directory. So rather than just having a list of movies on your hard drive in a file, you'll be able to go through the category folder, and later on we'll extend that to actors, studios, and series. So let's get started. Let's open up VS Code, and I'm going to go into the CRUD module over here. So when we add or remove a category, we need to add these links to our movie file. So right here in Add Movie Category, we're going to say Update Movie Category Link, and we're going to give it 3 parameters. The first parameter is going to be the file name for our movie. So that's going to be movie.filename. The second will be our actual category name. So category.name. And finally, it's going to be true when we're adding the category, in other words, when it's selected, and it'll be false when we're removing the category. So let's go ahead and copy this down to delete movie category. We'll put that right here, and there we go. So we also need to put util in front of that, and in front of this one as well, because that'll be a function we make in our util module. So let's go into there, and at the bottom of the file, we'll say update movie category link. Yeah. All right, so we have a file name, which is a string. We have a category, which is a string. And we have whether it's selected, which is a Boolean. And it's going to return nothing. All right, so that's a good start. So the first thing I want to do is get some paths. I need to know the path to my movie files. I need to know the path to the category files. I need to know the link path we're going to have in the category directory. And I need to know the current path to the file that exists now. So let's start off by getting a path to our movies. And that's going to be config movies. However, there could be a problem if we're using relative paths. We need an absolute path to make a proper symlink. So let's have Python convert that to an absolute path for us. So we'll say os.path.absolutePath to config movies. Then we're going to get a path to the file. That's the actual movie file path. And that's simply an F string of a path to our movies combined with our file name. Next, we need a path to the category directory. So let's say the path to the category directory is going to be an F string where we have the config of the categories directory. Then we have the actual category itself. So that's a path to our category. Next, we need to make the actual symlink path. And just like the file above, the link is simply going to be an F string of the path category with the file name. All right, so now we have all the paths that we need. So if we are selected, we're going to do one thing. Otherwise, we're going to do something else. So if we're selected, the first thing we need to do is make sure we actually have the category directory. It actually exists. Because if it doesn't, we can't make a symlink in that directory. You can't make symlinks in non-existent directories. So let's say if not os.path.isDirectory, path category, we're going to want to make this directory. So I'm not entirely sure what happens if it can't make the directory, so it probably throws some kind of exception. So let's wrap this in a try-catch block and then we'll do something with that later. So we will try to create a path object, which is a path for the path category. So we need to import path as well. So that should be from pathlib import path. All right. And then we're going to say path.make directory, and we're going to say parents are true. We want to make all the directories up to this category directory. We might be missing the category directory itself, the underlying one. So we want to make the parents. And finally, we'll say if it already exists, that's okay. So we don't want to throw any exceptions if our directory already exists. We only want to throw an exception if our directory doesn't exist and we can't create it. So we'll say except, and I don't really know what to do other than raise an exception here. So let's raise HTTP exception. It's going to be HTTP 500 something. Maybe just 500. Yeah, I'm not sure what else you do for this. It's just we have some unknown problem. Nothing the user can do about it. Just raise a server error. And we'll say detail equals a message. Category path category could not be created. And that needs to be an S string. So there we go. So now we will raise an exception if we can't make our path. So hopefully if we've made it here, we do have a category path. All right, so next we need to say if our link does not exist. We don't want to try to make a symlink if it already exists. I'm not entirely sure this would ever happen in our application, but let's just avoid that possibility. So if not, os.path, and you don't want exist here, you want link exist, because if you remove the file for some reason, or rename it, or something else happens to it, and your link exists, you still want to remove the link. So you need to do link exist, check the existence of a symlink here. That's going to be path link. So if we don't already have our symlink, then we'll try to make one with the symlink thing. And that's going to be path file, path link. Okay, so there we go. So the other thing is if we are not selected, this is when we want to remove our link. And that one is considerably easier. All we have to do is say if os.path.link exists, path link, then we remove it. And that's going to be path link. Now I suppose we could have trouble removing that for some reason, so we should probably catch exceptions there too. So let's say try except, and we will raise another exception, not that, exception, status, internal server error again, detail equals message unable to remove category link path link. Okay, so that is our message, and that should be good. So that should allow us to make our category links. Let's see if that works. So let's go into this and make sure our Python's still running. Yep, looks like it is. And we don't have the categories directory, so we'll have to be making those. Hopefully it will do that. So let's go to Warner Brothers, or that trilogy, and let's add an action category to Batman Begins. Then we'll go back in here. All right, we made our categories. We went to action. Hey, it's there. And even though we're using a relative path for our movies, we do have the absolute path here, and the symlink does look correct. What about when we remove that? If I delete that, does the symlink go away? No, it does not. Well, that's not good. Let's see what I typoed. And I'm guessing I probably typoed the true or false thing. So let's go back over here to CRUD, and there's add movie, delete movie, category. Yeah, I didn't change this to false. Okay, there we go. Now it should work. So if I add it, no problem. If I delete it, yes, now it's gone. And can we add it back? Is that still okay? Yes, it is. So there we go. We can now manage links for the categories. But I told you we would also do that for actors and studio and series. So why don't we handle actors? Because that's going to be very similar to how we did the categories. So let's go back into VS Code and we'll close this real quick. And if we go over into add movie category, we see we've got this update movie category link. I think we should probably make this function a bit more generic. So let's go into utility and let's just say update movie link. But now that we're not using a specific category link, we're going to need to supply some more parameters. So let's go ahead and supply some of those. The first thing we'll need to replace is this config categories path, because we can't have that if we don't have the category. So we're going to need a base path for our link. Path link base, which is going to be a string. Now, category no longer makes sense here either. We'll call it name, and we'll have it be any kind of name. So that should be enough to get us going, I think. Yeah, sounds like it should be enough to get us going. So the first thing I want to change is this config categories. Instead of being config categories, we're going to want it to be path link base. Or maybe we don't want to do that. Maybe instead we want to supply that it's a category or an actor or whatever, and then take action based on that. In fact, that might be a little bit easier. So why don't we have this update movie link, and we'll keep this as the path, and we'll make some more specific functions to do this easier. All right, so instead of category, it's going to be name. And now we've got this path category thing, which no longer makes sense. So why don't we just call that path base? Yeah, let's say call that path base for now. I hope that's everything. I think that is everything. So do we see category anywhere else? Yes, we have it right here. So unable to remove movie link this time. And movie link directory path base could not be created. And you know, we never handled errors in our symlinks, so we should probably do that as well. So we will try except, and we're going to raise an exception. It'll be more like this, what I'm thinking. And we were going to say unable to create movie link to path link. So we should probably give it the actual movie path as well. So let's say unable to create link, and we will say it is a path file to path link. Unable to remove link, path file to path link. Okay, that's a little bit better. And we'll just say directory path base could not be created. Yeah, I think that looks a little better. So I think it's rather fully genericized now. So we've got our update movie link. So let's just call that update link. And next, I want to make the specific functions for categories and whatnot. So let's have a function update category link. And it's going to have many of the same parameters as this, but we're going to have just the category, and that will be the name and selected, and again it returns none. And we're just going to call update link, and it's going to be file name, and this will be config categories, and then we'll have our name, and selected. Selected. There we go. So this will be how we handle that. We'll have update category link and the update link generic function. So let's make one of these for actors. So we update actor link, and it's the exact same thing, but now it's config actors rather than config categories. All right, so over in CRUD, we're going to say this should be update category link, and this should be update category link, and that looks correct to me. So let's copy that for actors, and let's see here. Now the order is very important here. If we are removing this link, we need to do that before we rename the file, because after we rename the file, we won't be removing the right link. So we'll do that here. And we're going to say update actor link, and it should be actor.name, and it will be false. All right, that looks good. And the other way around, when we are creating the actor and we rename that, we need to rename it before we add the symlink, because otherwise we wouldn't add the right link. So there we go, and we'll change that to true, and I think that looks good. So let's see if that works. So what is our first step? Let's go check and make sure that we're still running. Yep, it's okay. And we'll go back into here. We don't have any actors right now. So let's go over here and let's just remove Christian Bale, which shouldn't cause any problems. It is just silently doing nothing when it doesn't find the file. But does that look okay? Looks the same right now. What if we added Christian Bale back? And I go into this and I see actors, Christian Bale, and we now have our Christian Bale movie linked over here. All right, cool. So now we can update actors and categories and link them different places. All right, there is one more thing we're going to need to do with this. What happens when we rename a file in our utility? Right now, we rename the file and we simply rename it in that same movies directory. But we are not updating all of our links. So we've got actor links and we've got movie links. But those links are going to be wrong after we change the file. So whenever we rename the file, we need to go fix those links first. So let's see what we can do about that. Okay, so at the end of this rename movie file thing, we need to make a loop for category in movie.categories. So for every category, we need to remove the old symlink and add the new symlink. So we can simply do update category link. And what we need is the file name, which is going to be the movie file name, the name, which is the name of the category. So that's, I didn't mean to do that, category.name, and whether it's selected, and in this case, it's going to be no, it's not selected. However, that's not correct. We changed our movie file name to be the new file name. And this is why I preserved the existing file name, even though we didn't do much with that in the last episode. So actually, it needs to be file name current, and we're going to remove that so it's a false. And then we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to say file name new, and it's going to be true. So this is how we'll do that. We will remove the old link and add the new link. And we're going to do the same thing for our actors. So it's going to be pretty much identical. Let's change category to actor, and then categories to actors. Okay, I think all that should be good. So let's go see if that works real quick. I am in here, and you can see our link in actors, And I go back to Python, make sure we're still running. Okay. So I'm going to go into Warner Brothers, and I'll say Batman begun. Whatever, I don't know. And if I hit update, we go over here, and what do we have in here now? Now we have Batman begun. So we have removed our old link in the Christian Bale folder and updated that. Did it also work for our categories? Hey, it did. Cool. But honestly, we don't want the wrong name, so let's just go back to Batman Begins. All right. And when we do that, there we go. It's Batman Begins again. All right. So now we are able to update all of the categories and the actors. It's going to be very similar for the studio and the series, so I will probably just add that to the GitHub for this lesson and not just do that on camera, because it's going to be the exact same thing you've seen. The only difference is rather than when we add it here, we'll be doing it when we do the update stuff, but very similar. I'll put that in a separate commit so you can see the changes from this episode where we're at right now, but I'm probably not going to do that on camera unless when I'm adding the code I see something that needs to be explained more than I think it does right now. All right, so that's a good wrapping up point for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, help us grow, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.